Hello and good evening to all fellow Robo battlers here on Kepler 69c. It's been around 8 months since the last reported activity from the Nintendo Galactic Authority, and you know what that means. In line with the Council's guidelines following the last Great Purge, we've finally been able to distribute a brand new patch for Battle Revolution. As per usual, I'll be providing the rundown on each of the changes in the patch, as well as discussion about what impact they might have on the metagame, and what in the larger custom Robo scene might have prompted them in the first place here in 2044. Now, while I understand there's a bit of community discourse over the validity of patches in the NeoBrain Science Division that's working on the mods, which previously resulted in 23.303 being walked back after several issues, including the Forgotten Lightning Skies suddenly making a comeback after they were accidentally given the stealth property on their dash, resulting in about 23 recent dropouts and a strongly worded letter about this being the worst shit I have seen in this game so far. That being said, I'm pleased to report that this version has been thoroughly tested and Ellis continues to fester in unplayability after the last nerf to reduce the speed of skydashes to be equivalent to a Metal Bear's light jog. Great news for Shining Fighter players as they see their 27th consecutive wave of 2-page buffs this patch, including the newest 500 increase to their down, now placing them comfortably above Metal Grapplers at a modest 3,000. With them teetering on the edge of viability for the past 2 decades, Glory and Wraithflame mains everywhere rejoice despite the class still failing to put up results as anything more than a pocket pick over the game's entire history. But all hope isn't necessarily lost. Data miners and players with eyes alike seem to have discovered a brand new member of the class added in this patch. Splendor. Aerial beauties are still likely to remain S tier in this version, as despite having their down cut down to a measly 1 now and their defenses and charges completely ruined, moderate apathy towards the nerfing the infamous leg part Big Booster, and its ability to launch them into orbit with just one continuous jump assures that them, and the reigning 22-year champion Reality, are sure to stay at number 1. Metal Grapplers have unfortunately received no changes in this version, but while their mere 2,400 down no longer compares to Shining Fighters, MG players can rejoice at the fact that a new leg part, Crow, is available in this version as a completely unmodified vanilla Raven. The absence of any Little Raider mentions in the patch notes for almost 2 years now hasn't been often questioned by the community, but upon a particular fan's request, we've managed to secure a response about the status of the class from a representative in our modding team, Frogs But in a Bowl. What class? Yeah. While Strike Vanishers have suffered from barely benefiting from any of the overarching game changes in the past 2 decades, the holdouts of the class will be pleased to know that because of a recent impressive Splashbird showing that has it fresh in everyone's minds, the entire class will now be receiving 3 more frames of startup on all of their dashes. A tragedy for Trick Flyer players as for the first time in about 25 years, the class has finally received a nerf in the form of dashes gaining increased, Okay, I'm just fucking with you. This class is never getting nerfed. Lightning Skies! Yeah, so anyways, Funky Big Heads are receiving their second jump back this patch. Following a historical drought in usage and relative mid-tier standing after the banning of their infamous vanilla acro strategy, Patch sought to revitalize the long-lost meta giants in the 20 cycle with 2 new members, Babyhead and Swanhead, with the former immediately taking off and centralizing the entire metagame due to its gravity being so low that it could actually replicate acro heights just by pressing the A button. Of course, while it faced much outcry for nerfs at the time, Babyhead and Fakra are now considered weak in a metagame where the most bare-bones viable classes are capable of reaching the stratosphere in just a couple of seconds. Time will tell if another hop can catapult them back into viability, but I don't know if I'd count on it. Burning Beasts have surprisingly received absolutely no changes this patch, which is a bold decision coming off the heels of buffs and nerfs forever cycling every other patch, as ever since their air dash was changed to go straight upwards, the community has been indecisive on how overpowered or unfair this class was, all the while aerial beauties were unanimously considered better in every way. Unfortunately, no light at the end of the tunnel for Wild Soldier fans. Even with a 50% end lag reduction on weaponry and frame 1 dashes, a ground class just can't compete in a metagame where our weakest available pods have enough homing and speed to track down non-airborne players in real life. Ever since their introduction in 2041, Misty Mirages have been steadily picking up popularity and buffs under the eyes of the metagame, and with several breakout performances this year so far, they've easily taken up the mantle of number 2 class overall, and might be expected to overtake Aerial Beauties with the set of strong buffs they've got in this version. This is all despite their bafflingly mismatched to the meta game plan of being able to walk through walls, which, surprisingly, includes the map boundaries, giving them an unprecedented win condition by stalling outside of the map after they get a single neutral win. The main feature of this patch is the first 2 changes designed to tackle the infamous Babyhead, Phoenix, Submarine K Beast build, coined by our star player Zach777, who, after a tragic airboating accident 4 years ago, has been rendered a brain in a jar playing via electrical impulses, now with all the time in the world to lab out new tech and stupid builds. It absolutely tore up the first tournament it was unveiled at, almost managing to defeat reigning champion Reality with 5 20-second matches that would have left the set at a mere 4-minute duration before the council was called in by community outcry to ban it mid-set. A following 2-hour reverse sweep from Reality left VOD editors everywhere in shambles. While it was originally mocked, I shouldn't have to explain to you at this point how absolutely dominant this build is, and how entertaining it is that players back in the 20s and 30s had absolutely no idea that something like this could have existed with the vanilla parts. While it's currently undergoing testing, there's no doubt in my mind that without being completely destroyed in its current form, it's going to return to metagame warping and be banned once again. Another page of Swordstorm nerfs this version, much to the community's dismay. The continued nerfs for this gun have stiff opposition, with top players saying that the continued changes to this gun are simply due to low-level players who lack the skill to play around it, despite the fact that the reasoning and source for these is entirely based off the performance of this gun at high levels as well. Why do I think the gun continues to dominate and be so contentious? I mean, come on, when's the last time you've watched a set? You think these people know how to move horizontally in this game anymore? Flame players are likely to be pleased, as 3 more guns are here to join the Flame Mark type of weapons, which already includes Flame, Drill, Twin Flame, Gust, and the newly reworked Gatling. While these guns don't seem much playing competitive due to the lack of actual options to approach opponents at high-level play, patch notes claim that modders are hoping these guns will encourage more dynamic and interactive play in the neutral game, seeing as one of them, Big Drill, is capable of dealing a slight 2000 damage to Splendor off of a half connect. That being said, with the iconic 3-way glider still dominating the gun meta, players expect these 3 to make little impact on their own. While Burrow remains as unviable as ever, modders are testing out an elusive new bomb that could shake up the gameplay loop known as Sky Burrow. After an incredibly close vote that closed out its placement, Sky Burrow is expected to shake up how the top builds interact with each other. While bomb explosions are still incapable of reaching a fourth of the distance big booster classes can hop, Sky Burrow introduces an innovative new mechanic where the bombs can sit in the air relative to the user's position and inhibit the opponent's movement at all up there. This is expected to be another great part of the famous and skill-based air dittos that currently make up custom Robo, with the dynamic gameplay far above the quote-unquote ground metagame of Little Raiders, Shining Fighters, and other horizontal dashers that only some of the community even tries to run events for. On that note, I'm here to share some recent news about the rule set's changes to the stage list and how that may affect the metagame along with this upcoming patch. As we all know, Impact Raider has been the only starter and most preferred counterpick ever since patch 15.23, which introduced Big Booster and Lighter Feather, being the only stage that can actually impact the game in any way besides arena size. While that part of it hasn't changed, there's been recent talks to legalize Dark Star as a second starter stage. This isn't because of any particular competitive aspect to the layout, or a newfound reverence for the horrific visual effect, but rather as a result of players being so bored that they'd like to introduce literally any stage that offers something new to the gameplay loop, even if it's making people throw up. Lastly, there's an experimental change that's still in testing in order to nerf Metal Ape's charge. While many charges are archaic and unused due to the unpopularity of any grounded play, even including the secondary charge button introduced at the start of the patch 21 cycle, a recent idea developers had to turn Metal Ape's Lariat into a 5-minute skybox scraping spin with unparalleled horizontal and vertical homing in order to try and bring charges back to the gameplay loop may have been a bit overzealous, resulting in a class that really shouldn't be meta enjoying a ton of surprising play that consists entirely of pressing the X button. X button scientist King Kickass was contracted for an opinion on this matter, but supposedly will not comment on matters regarding charges with bad sound design. And that concludes the patch rundown for 23.304. Lots of big changes in this one. I expect to provide new angles to the metagame, and I can't wait to see what top players are going to be bringing to reawaken the reawoken mech that fell asleep again 8, which will be taking place Thursday the 21st this April to Friday the 29th. All of that time to account for Aerial Beauty mirror runtimes.